How do you find like managing 29 guys?
Difficult, mate. I don't think any director would ever sit here and say it's easiest to run labour. It's one of the most difficult parts of any sort of outfit, isn't it? Yeah.
Just that's a huge issue with the industry as such. For some reason in construction, when you're wanting to get paid, they're forgotten about. And were you on your own at that point?
Me and my dad with a couple of lads with the computer under the stairs in the house, not really knowing where we're going and what we're doing, but really, really good at what we did in terms of actual cladding, roofing and whatever else.
There was a situation with your brother, if you're happy to go into it.
Yeah, so obviously Lee was the estimator QS for the business. For the last 6 years he suffered with a lot of addiction, mental health. He was an integral part of the business, extremely intelligent. I had a phone call from So I had a phone call. Mum said, I think he's dead. So obviously I jumped in the car, flew straight over, walked in the kitchen and on the kitchen floor. Blue. I was just running around the house and found a book. It was a big notepad, pages and pages of writing of how he felt and how he was struggling. Will Ben ever be proud of me again? A lot of normal people have a lot of problems that people don't understand. We really need to look at the side of the addiction and address the addiction, and then I think the mental health thing will just become a lot easier.
What would you say to people who maybe might be struggling in our industry as such?
So from my point of view, I'd say if you are someone who's working on site and you are struggling, you need not to be worried about
Ben.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming down, my friend.
It's an absolute pleasure.
You've done a stint down there from Manchester.
Yeah, 4 hours 45 I think it took.
It's dedication to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you.
Mate, thanks so much for coming down, and thanks for coming on as well. Short notice as well, this one. So really, really appreciate it. So, mate, I want to have a little look at you before you're in the construction industry. So if you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself and like before you worked your way into the construction industry.
Of course, well, like everyone else, college, usual stuff. Not really know where to go with life. Obviously, just trying to get through. And then my dad was a roofer and cladder, sheeter. So I followed in his footsteps. He literally said, "Come on, we're going to work." But beforehand, it was just sports, football.
Footy.
Yeah, the usual
Manchester fan.
Yeah, United. Yeah. So it was literally, I'm going to be a PT. I'm going to be a football coach. I'm going to be a footballer.
Yeah.
And then you kind of realise that isn't that simple. And then you think, what am I going to do? And then you end up just doing back into little bits of jobs and whatever else. And then ultimately, like I say, you end up following your father's footsteps, don't you? Yeah. Most of the time, anyway.
Yeah,
Majority of people do. So yeah, that's beforehand. There's not much to say before the life of roofing, really.
Just 30 player.
Yeah, just 40. Love 40.
Full back, I reckon. That's just
right back.
Right back. I've done that at women's.
Right back, yeah, bang on. Yeah, I loved it. I played from like 13 to 18, I'd say. Then when you realise you're not going to be a professional footballer, you think,
I had that.
What's the point on this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not getting up on the Saturday morning freezing.
Yeah.
And then you end up on the bench anyway.
Yeah.
And then you think, sod that, I'm not doing that.
And it kills your whole week as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, knackers your week off. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's heavy, it's intense. But I suppose the dedication to something at that age is worthwhile, isn't it?
Without doubt, mate. Yeah, so did you go down the apprenticeship route?
No. So in terms of the roofing and cladding, whatever else, literally straight on site at 17, 18. Obviously earlier on, doing weekends and school holidays, that sort of thing. But ultimately about 17 or 18, jumped on with my dad. He was hands-on tools, really old school sort of guy. Do you know, one of them sort of, everything has to be screaming and shouting and whatever else that. So he was definitely a dictator in that respect. So yeah, jumped on with him, worked on the tools.
Started as like a labourer kind of thing.
Just a basic labourer. Yeah, especially with sheeting, because it's literally carrying sheets all day. Yeah. From one end of the roof to the other end of the roof. I don't think anyone really appreciates it until you do it.
Mate, funny enough, you say that. So my brother-in-law runs a roofing and sheeting business as well, and this must have been maybe 10 years ago. I did some labouring for him for about 6 months in the winter, ice cold as well, and I'm useless with heights. Slipping down the roof, all sorts. But it was hard graft, just labouring, shifting sheets, a lot of ASI sheets, asbestos sheets. He used to strip and resheet.
Yeah, of course. Oh mate, it's the weight as well. I say it's that cold days. It's them winter months. Summer's great. Yeah, you can be on the sun, out in the sun and whatever else. But the winter's such a bad job in the winter. It's a bad job.
I bet you had some harsh jobs as well, because I suppose if it's your old man, I bet he kind of...
Oh, mate, yeah, I got whipped. He got whipped. He whipped everyone, but he whipped me even worse. I couldn't brush up right if it was asking him. You asked me, Dad, what I could do right or wrong. He'd tell you I'm shit at brushing up. So, he was definitely one of them micromanaging control guys. But that's where I kind of instilled in me a lot of what I've got now.
And good to learn from as well, I suppose.
100%.
I know it's, looking back, it might seem a bit harsh or whatnot, but like from a learning perspective, if you just get thrown in the deep end and it might have been a harsher tactic back then, because it's different now, isn't it? Like, it's massively different how you deal with like labourers and younger people. Well, some people might not be, but, it's a bit different back now to back then, sorry. So, like, I bet you learned loads and loads. Yeah,
I think maybe that's what's missing now, is that back then you could... I'm not saying you could, but you get away with a lot more back then, 20, whatever it is, years ago now.
You could definitely.
You could be screaming and shouting and saying, what the hell are you doing? Get your ass over there, you're useless. And, they're not positive things, but they kind of, they put you on that right track where you're like, I can't let him down. I've got to do that right, and everything's 100% on point in terms of that. But so, it did teach me a lot of life lessons working with my dad, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I also did a little stint before, I think I was about 16, maybe I worked with my dad. Completely different industry. He's a hairdresser, so completely different. But when I think I was like 15, maybe, or 14. Yeah. And it was the same, to be fair. Like, I was just sweeping up. I think I must have been 14. I was sweeping up, and he did used to tell me what's what when I was in there. I just think how I can't be sweeping up wrong, surely. Like,
sure. That's the same thing. I was always doing something. Yeah. I used to grab the screw gun on the drill and try and put a screw in, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" You were like, "I don't know." And you just used to drop the drill and give up. You're like, I'll just carry them sheets for you. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, he was definitely he was definitely one of them. He was a labour master, and he could get the best out of his blokes and whatever else. And I think we do miss that now, especially with the younger generation. Like you say, we could do. I think it's a bit more snowflake now, isn't it? Do you know
Without doubt.
Yeah,
Without doubt. Do you find it as well? Do you have apprentices or labourers?
Younger labourers, younger lads, obviously. Yeah, we struggle with labour massively in terms of. I'd say not so struggle with the quality of the labour, but I think getting the most out of the labour, and the younger generation especially, I think it's just it's a well-known fact now, isn't it? It's like we are struggling with that next generation, and maybe it's our fault, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It's a subject in it, but
yeah, we're definitely struggling. I mean, I look at some of our guys that work with us. We've, like I said earlier, we've got maybe like a core of like 15 guys, and like. Probably about 7 or 8 of them are over 60, and then you've got like the ones below that, they're like 50s and 40s, and there's only a couple that work with us that are 20. I think there's one in two in his 20s.
Of course, yeah. I think a lot of it as well is now the expectations of what they expect they should be given,
earning as well,
what days they should be working, what hours they work. I'm not working weekends, like jobs needs to be done. There's none of that. I'm not saying that's just the younger generation, because obviously it's ours as well, but I think primarily that expectation of a younger person now is like, I should be getting this for very little.
Yeah. Like
giving back very little. I think that's my problem in terms of what we are. I'm noticing more and more now is trying to find the right younger person to come through. And we're dying for that. We're dying for that younger person to be able to step in that role.
How do you like just as a you've got your own business, which we'll definitely go into, but how do you deal with like the younger guys when they come and they don't want to work, or they don't want to do weekends? It's hard to tell them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very difficult, to be honest with you. I'd say there's two ways, isn't there? There's the way of the old school way, like we were just discussing, where you're like, look, if you don't like it, you don't want it, you go. That's it, in uncertain terms. Or is the way where you go, well, I know you've got the quality there. I can kind of see where you can go. So do a work with you a little bit and try and be a little bit more flexible with you. But ultimately, the goal is you need to be instilling like, these are the hours, this is what you should be working, and this is your money that you're on. You're going to build up and you're going to keep going. And if the dedication's not there when you try and offer them things to them, then so the answer to the question is a bit of both, depending on the person and depending on what quality they do show. They either hit the road or I try and wing out with them and keep them on.
And can you tell from the get-go when you get someone younger, like 17, 18, like the way they pick up a drill or the
100%. Way 100%. You can kind of see what they've got in them or what they've not, but everyone has different qualities.
Yeah, true.
Some of them might have a hell of a lot of effort, and they're carrying all day and they're trying all day, and you've got no issues with that. But in terms of that little bit more technical, you can kind of see that they might not grasp it. I mean, everyone can with learning and whatever else, but I think with that, you either got that workhorse, or you've got that bit more quality where you go, you can do a bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you know, there's like, because to be honest with you, like I said earlier, I did a bit of a stint on site. So after I did the labour and roof and cladding, I also did carpentry as well. And I'll be honest with you, I was never really hands on. I wasn't very good like with my hands. And I could work it out, but I couldn't do it with my hands for some reason.
Of course,
but I always used to just get by just working really hard. So like just show up all the time and just like work a full day and just work really hard. Like, sometimes it wasn't great what I did, but I just kind of got by just doing that.
That's what I mean. I think everyone's got different qualities, like I say, but you either have that bloke who's, you know, that lad, a bloke, whatever you want to call them, you know, they're 100%, you know, they're going to be like, everything's effort, like they're there on time, they're working late, everything's 100 miles high, like, look, I'll do this, I'll do that, I don't mind, no money. Then you got that guy who probably knows he's a little bit better, a little bit more quality in what he's doing. He's going, I'm not doing that, I'll put these fixings in, don't worry about carrying that. So you get the two types of people. So you can spot them miles off anyway. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You can spot them miles off.
So you just going back to working with your dad. So how long did that period go on for?
I say probably 3 years. You know, it wasn't a massive amount of time. And then going into obviously the company we have now, we got made redundant by we used to work for a property developer over in Nottingham. Fantastic guy. We got made redundant. No fault of his own or whatever else. We ended up obviously out of work, and we managed to get some work from him that he'd obviously said, look, my situation is not fantastic, here's this, make the most of it. That was 17 years ago, and we are where we are now.
So that's how your business started.
That's how Quick Cladding Solutions started.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So and were you on your own at that point?
Me and my dad with a couple of lads. Yeah. With the computer under the stairs in the house, the Packard bell, which used to make a racket when you used to start the internet up, that sort of thing. Not really knowing where we're going and what we're doing. Not really knowing how to send an email or how to organise anything, but really, really good at what we did in terms of actual cladding, roofing, and whatever else. I
mean, it's so nice to hear as well, you know, like your company started, you know, with your old man and literally at the bottom of the stairs, not even know how to send an email, or because that is a skill set in itself, just like the office side of things, isn't it? And you find a lot of the lads on site, when they want to do the office side, it's difficult for them to transfer any skill set over to the office.
100%, yeah. I mean, my dad was a twin, so the two of them that used to always work together since they were children. So there was my dad and his brother, they worked for years and years on the tools, but never really had that second bit of nous to be able to go and do their own thing. So when we got made redundant, his twin, obviously he was elsewhere beforehand, so we decided to go and try it on our own. Like I say, we got given the option, but I think I then brought that other little bit of maybe the office side, which I didn't really know then anyway. But maybe I brought that to the equation, and it was like, obviously my brother as well. I think that's when we started to really realise we could do a bit more.
So how did it look back then? So there was your dad, and then would your brother work for you then, or was it?
No, so he was kind of working so he was a commercial manager estimator at a city centre firm in Manchester. Big outfit. He was only in his early 20s as well then. So he worked there, and then obviously in between he would jump on some of ours, like pricing some of the jobs in the background, that sort of thing, just helping us out. So ideally it was me and my dad that started Quick Cladding Solutions at the very beginning. And then
was it just you two that used to work on site, and then you'd get home at 4 or 5 and then you'd jump on the laptop,
that's exactly what it was,
quote in, send
like I say, he was sitting under the stairs and sounding really weird, but he'd have a bottle of beer watching me send an email, and he'd be like, no, and he couldn't spell anyway, so he was pointless in me even putting his input in. But like, no, don't be saying that, and then your email would be ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? So
have you looked at any of those emails?
No, I need to do back. You know, I don't even still got it. I want to see what the wording like. The wording would be horrendous. But that's kind of how it started. So it was me and him. Brother was working elsewhere, but his little input when he could. And then just starting to grow the business.
And then, so, you know, you started just you and your dad, like you said, and your brother used to come in as well. So how did it roll out to get more and more lads? Because obviously you used to get the work from the guy, the property developer who gave you so much start. And then how did you sort of like roll out more work, and then as the work goes on, the guys come with it? Yeah,
I'd say the majority of our work, to be honest with you, is repeat work and hearsay. Back then, obviously, social media was nowhere near as what it is now. So that was never really something we could implement. It was more the fact of like, you know, we'd go and we kind of specialised in more of retail than anything else. So we do now anyway, sorry. And at the beginning, we was more, you know, warehouses and new builds and whatever else. So it was more, surveyors, consultants, etc., that would say, we've used such and such on this job, so hearsay and whatever else. So that's kind of how we built the first lot of clients, so say.
And then they come back, didn't they? And
yeah, of course. And then repeat work came back, and then obviously so on and so on. There was a little bit of work on our side in terms of just trying to build up our reputation with different people, and there was a couple of emails back and forth. But back then, it wasn't really like it is now, is it?
Nah, not at all. I mean, nowadays you can you can reach out to anyone you want nowadays through LinkedIn, through your websites and your marketing you do on that, and social medias as well. You can reach out to any client you want.
Exactly.
And put your foot across and try and get in with them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So back then it was literally just word of mouth hearsay. One consultant, one surveyor, or a QS or whatever it may be would say, we're building this shed, we're doing this. So it was just kind of like that how we started off.
Just a short break from the episode, which I really hope you guys are enjoying. This podcast has been invaluable for me, and I hope it's providing a lot of value for yourselves. If you could just do me one small favor and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. Not only does it help me and the podcast, but it also helps share stories and insights from the industry that we find ourselves in. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So what size value jobs were you doing back then? And then how did that progress?
What? I would say that it was. I don't think there's been a massive increase in terms of value of job, because back then, I mean, depending on what the value was compared to the inflation, etc. But I'd say you're looking probably like 200 grand back then, 150. So fair size.
Big jobs for Cladding, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, obviously now we've gone up to like £800 million jobs, that sort of thing. So we have increased in terms of the value of the jobs at times, but primarily we kind of sit around still the same amounts of overall profit in jobs. And
then so you said earlier you've got 29 guys on, was it 19?
No, 28.
28 guys on. So obviously you guys are a big outfit now.
Yeah.
How do you find managing 29 guys? Do you manage it yourself, or have you got people who
No, we've got a couple of people below us in terms of the way we run the workforce.
Yeah.
Difficult. I mean, I don't think any director would ever sit here and say it's easy to run labour. It's one of the most difficult parts of any sort of outfit, isn't it? Yeah, no matter who you are. Labour is difficult because you're dealing with different personalities, different individuals, and they're the forefront of your business. They're your salesmen, they're your end product. If they're not right, then your company's not right.
Yeah, you're bang on there. So they are literally a representation of your guys, your representation of you and your 100%. Company.
I know I always try and put a principle by if your missus asks you to paint the fence, you paint one side or you paint both sides?
I don't know, is that a trick question? Because I don't think I want to answer it.
We paint both sides because the quality has to be there no matter what. So I always kind of live by it by saying to the lads, keep the quality, you're the end product for me. So the meaning is, if you're painting one side of the fence, the other side's going to look shy.
Yeah.
So you need to be painting both to show it. So when my labour's out there, I'm relying on them to be that forefront and that face of quick cladding solutions.
Yeah, and also they are the face in front of the clients as well. So when your clients come round, you're not there all the time.
No, of course not.
I know you're obviously going to be on the phone and that, but they are the face. So they are liaising with the clients day to day.
100%. Yeah, reactively as well, because reactively they're obviously liaising with different people in terms of we do a lot of retail, so going inside the stores.
Oh, that must be difficult.
Presenting themselves to the client. Trying to look how they should look, trying to act how they should look, how they should be, etc. So for me, that's always paramount in mine, is the way we deal with the client and the way they present themselves is very, very important to us.
I mean, retail work, that must be hard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it is, especially with deadlines and SLAs and trying to keep stores open when they're closing, when they're flooding, etc.
So how? Oh, of course, I didn't even think about that. So you're doing retail stores, and obviously you're taking the roofs off.
Yeah. We've done full asbestos strips on buildings, etc. When the refits are on, the deadlines are very, very tight. Do you know what I mean? And obviously there's penalties incurred on some clients when we get to that point, which obviously is near here or there. But the pressure's on.
How do you because a lot of we do work where there's deadlines, and there's other stuff as well we do where there's LEDs as well. But how do you deal with the tight deadlines, especially with something you guys do, because it's the roof's off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even if the roof's not off, it's weather permitting as well. So we do a lot of coatings, etc. So we do overclads, coatings, re-roofs, whatever it may be that the client wants on that refit. So the pressure's on no matter what. If the weather hits, the pressure's even more on, because 9 times out of 10, no one really cares that the weather's hit.
Yeah.
They're inside fitting the place out. You're on the roof trying to deal with ice, snow, rain, and you're trying to do what you got to do, and lads are obviously can't work in certain conditions for safety reasons. So no one ever really looks at it and says, "Oh, they've lost 3 weeks because of snow." no one cares.
Yeah,
Your deadline's that deadline.
And for you as well, like if you lose 3 weeks because of snow, that's what, like the roofing side of things is so difficult in you know, in the adverse weather, because you've lost 3 weeks on a job, for instance, but also you've got 3 weeks worth of work that you've got to try and find for people to do, and
of course.
There's your cash flow to sort out, because those 3 weeks you can't get paid for.
Exactly. So we have a reactive side. So when we integrate the new building refurbishment side with the reactive side a little bit. So when if any jobs hold up for whatever reason, we can put them on the reactive side, which will be repairs, etc. So we're kind of looking in that respect where we can kind of pull people off and not really lose so much money. But ultimately, like I say, when the snow and the rain hits and that deadline's on such a date, no one inside is going, I understand. Like the shop's open in 2 weeks, but you've got 3 weeks worth. Like, no one cares.
Never happens.
No. You're literally then manning up, losing money potentially. Yeah. Because you've lost those days, lost those weeks. So it's got potential to go drastically wrong extremely quick. And
then, so when you kind of do your the commercial stores, the retail stores, are you guys predominantly what you consider like the main contractors? So you sub the scaffolding, if there's any netting or anything like that needs to be done?
Yeah, so depending on, we usually fall under a principal contractor. Who would be doing the full refit, whatever it may be. So we usually fall under a principal contractor, and then obviously some of the work is subcontracted in terms of netting and scaffold. We don't have our own division in that.
Sure.
Anything specialist like that would fall out of that. But in terms of the roofing, the spraying and whatever else, it's usually within house. A couple of jobs we sub out the spraying and whatever else. But yeah, we primarily fall under a principal contractor.
And then do you guys ever do the other side of things where you're the subcontractor as well?
Yeah. We have done in the past. Yeah.
And then, you know, have you got any stories you want to share about the difficulties of being a subcontractor? Because, you know, like it's becoming, there's more voice around and more noise around being a subcontractor to main contractors and the difficulties that people find. Or do you guys not? You guys might not find it, to be fair.
We do. We give and take, isn't it? You know, you've got certain people that are fantastic to work for, and I'd say the majority of who I work for are great. I can't, thank them enough for the opportunities you've had. I've got to say that. But obviously, there is the odd one where, you take this job on, you kind of go with the flow with like, you got your retention, you got your main contractor's discount. And you look and you think, okay, well, I can still make that work. And then as the job goes on, you're starting to think, this is going to be tight. And then you get to the end and then you've got your main contractor, you've got all those percentages taken off and you're thinking, shit.
You get to the end and sometimes you might not make any money.
No, of course not. I mean, any director would be, any owner of a company would be daft to sit in any position and say, I've never lost money on a job. I mean, you might not have, but you'd be extremely good at what you do. But yeah, I've lost money on jobs. Is
that because of not being paid, or is that because of,
payments sometimes dragged out? I think that's natural for anyone now, isn't it? We're in 2024. I think that's just the nature of the beast now, is that payments are dragged out, and we kind of understand that, and we're understanding of it, and people are understanding on the other side as well if that ever happens. But ultimately, I think it's the percentage of the retention. Yeah, I'm not a massive lover of retention.
Nah, because some people the retention is the profit, and if you've got a 12-month on that, your cash flow for those for the duration of the job, and then the 12 months until you get the retention, and that's not your profit. So you're also trying to bankroll other projects you're doing as well.
Well, you got to remember, 90% of people as well. Companies. 90% of companies that you work for, they're not going to give you a call in 12 months and say, I've still got your retention.
Never.
They're going to wait for you, and then you're chasing them. So you're in the same position as not being paid. It's exactly the same. Ultimately, I say the retention and the discounts sorry, is the biggest hardship in terms of working for a principal contractor.
And if you're willing to share the story, have you guys ever not been paid, or have you guys got to the end and the money that you were owed just was dashed and you weren't able to be paid that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's been occasions where we've not been. I don't think we've ever not been paid in terms of, but time-wise, we've waited 3, 4, 6 months past payment dates in the end, and obviously you'll be getting paid at increments of your money and whatever else. I'm fine with this communication. I understand people have problems and people won't get paid elsewhere, which will have a knock-on effect. So I'm understanding of that. Yeah, do you know what I mean? But it depends on the situation, doesn't it? Right.
Yeah, but also there's a lot of main contractors out there that play on that a little bit, and they're like, we can't we'll drip feed it, we'll pay you this, and we'll give you that.
Because ultimately there's nothing you can really do at the end of the job when someone's saying, say you're owed 150k for instance, and then someone then pays you 50k, then they owe you 100. What are you realistically going to do? You're going to start writing solicitor's letters for the 100, and then by the time you've got that, they probably paid you another 25, and by the time you've done that, they probably paid you another 10.
Yeah.
and then you're waiting 6 months, and you think, I'm going to get my money. I know I am. They're telling me I am. So ultimately, you wait. So your payment terms go from 30 days to 6 months.
Yeah, but that's the, I think just that's a huge issue with the industry as such, because like you said there, your payment terms are your payment terms, but for some reason in construction, those payment terms just go into the abyss, mate. And like when you're wanting to get paid, they're forgotten about. Yeah. And you usually get told your payment terms as well with some clients. They're like, this is what you're being paid, but even those sometimes don't get stuck to.
No. You're dictated by your client 100%, because and you kind of have to be in a way. I mean, there'll be people who sit there and say, my payment terms are 30 days and that's all I'm doing. Kind of good luck trying to implement that one, because you either want the work or you don't. For the principal contractor is going to stand there and go, I've got 15 roofers, I've got 15 roofing and cladding, they can do exactly the same as you. They're willing to accept my 90-day payment terms. And I begrudge a little bit. Sometimes you see people who complain about the payment terms, but they sign up for the payment terms.
Yeah.
So you're on 90 days, but then people go, 90 days is ridiculous. I'm like, well, don't sign up for it then. I can't moan about retention, really, because I sign up for retention, so I know what I'm getting. Yeah. If you don't know what you're getting, then you're not doing your job right. Yeah. So, I disagree with the long payment terms, but I understand that companies run like that, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I just got a problem with it, because there's every other industry. I mean, I don't actually know this. I'm only assuming, but like the majority of other industries, like payment terms are payment terms.
Yeah.
Like with like the marketing companies that we guys use, like we have to pay. It's not like I'm going to drag out. I don't want to pay that now. Like maybe in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, I think suppliers as well of obviously the materials and the machines and in terms of access and stuff like that. They kind of need to play ball in some instances, because if you're on 90-day payment terms and they're on 30-day payment terms, like, you've got no chance.
Do you ever try and negotiate with suppliers?
It's a no-go, isn't it? It's an absolute no-go. Like, it's not even a negotiation. It's a fact that you're not going to really get it, because they'll tell you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got fantastic suppliers and they give us leeway. Yeah. I'm not gonna say they don't. I've got some amazing suppliers, and they do communications key with them, and they're fantastic. I love my supply chain, but obviously, there is ones where I'm just going to say, well, no, 30 days is 30 days, you're on stop. So then, obviously, you're waiting 90 days for your payment. You've got to use your cash flow, haven't you? Yeah. And that's when they obviously start to incur them problems then. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's kind of where we are with it.
How do you find, running your company nationally as well? Because you said earlier, you guys are all over the country. You've got loads of guys on, you've got a couple of people in the office that help them, but like it's very difficult to run projects outside of your local area. Yeah,
we've designed an app where, in terms of our engineers on site or whatever else, we've designed our own in-house app, which we're obviously upgrading and updating all the time. But ultimately, that trying to kind of keeps track of where we are across the country. But yes, it's extremely difficult offering a nationwide service, same day service as well. In some cases, when someone's got a flood with a 4-hour SLA, we're trying to match that. So there is difficulty doing that. But I found trying to keep it local, there's no expansion.
It's true.
Yeah, you have to go with the workers,
because there's not many. Like locally, there's only a certain amount of industrial buildings that need roofing and cladding.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we had to branch out, and obviously to try and service the clients we had. In terms of major retailers and whatever else, we had to go nationwide. So it wasn't really an option.
That app you mentioned, so how did that come about?
Well, we tried a load of different service apps. I'm not going to mention the names, but we found a couple, and then the lads weren't really suited to them. They were struggling with them. So we thought, we'll design our own. I thought it'd be a fortune, but it's not actually a fortune. You pay per user every month. Okay. So for people out there who are thinking that an app may be really expensive, we pay about £50 a month per user of the app, and you can basically put in that app whatever you like, whatever documents you like in terms of health and safety, guidance. They log onto the app, they do their thing, come straight to the email, Office process it, blah, blah, blah. So it's no different than the major sort of service apps that are out there. But my guys found a lot of it a little bit needless and complicated. I mean, I'm not slagging off because they have the use, obviously people use them, but we found it easier to design our own. Dead simple. It's in the app.
And how did you find the guys using that? Because there's a few bits that we use in house as well with the guys on site, and some of them just don't take to it. It's not.
They're like
trying to be polite.
Like a dynamite. Yeah, that's what I say to them. Like, it's like holding a stick of dynamite when you give them an iPad. It's ridiculous, but it took a bit of back and two training. Yeah, but it's dead simple what we do. It's like, that's what I mean. We were finding it so complicated with the other, even though they're not, but. Roofers are roofers, scaffolders are scaffolders, plasterers are plasterers. When you're trying to mess with them, like, oh God, what's that? I mean, the lads I'm gonna put my minutes in, and it's like, so we made it as simple.
Yeah. And then do you guys just, so you've obviously built the app yourselves, and then you input the information?
Yeah, we input the information, they get it on their app, and then they send it straight back to the office, and then we're onwards and upwards.
So, let's jump back a little bit. So you started the company with your dad. So has he grown with you with the company? Is he still with you now?
No, he passed 2 years ago, my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he left us 2 years ago in August.
Yeah, and that must have been quite tough because you've obviously...
Yeah, he was hands-on. He was more the hands-on guy on site. So I lost that, obviously, that one person on site that would get it done and trust.
Yeah.
And that old school approach to the company as well.
And is there anyone else who's, the old school side of things, is there anyone else that's been able to...
I wouldn't say old school side of it. I've set another engineer, well, I'll call him engineer, contracts manager now, up in his place. He's doing fantastic. He reports back to me. He's kind of the second guy below me that that trust is there, which you need for that person that's directly below you, I'd say. So yeah, he's doing well. He's my dad. I don't think he ever will be, but it's 2 years now and we're doing all right. So. And
obviously you've had a super tough time. Just obviously hearing about your dad, and obviously there was a situation with your brother. If you're happy to go into it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to let us know what happened there?
Yeah. So obviously Lee was the estimator QS for the business. He had been for, I think he left his company in Manchester, I'd say about 10 years ago. I'd say for the last 3 years. Well, firstly, he passed in June, so just so everyone's aware, he passed in June of this year, and I'd say for the last 3 years, for the last 6 years, he suffered with a lot of addiction, mental health.
Yeah.
From the addiction, he suffered the mental health, I'd say. So yeah, he was the QS for the business. He was an integral part of the business, extremely intelligent. But yeah, he passed on the 10th of June this year. I had a phone call from...
Yeah, it must have been really, really tough, that, mate. Take as much time as you need as well. That's right.
So I had a phone call... sorry, mate.
That's right, mate. Take as much time as you need.
I had a phone call from my mum about 8 o'clock on the 10th of June. I was just coming out of the gym in the morning, and she said, I think Lee's dead. Because he'd been living with my mum for a while because he'd been struggling. He had his own apartment previous. He boarded all the windows up, locked himself away, didn't go to work, obviously suffering with his addiction and whatever else it was. And yeah, so I got the phone call at 8 o'clock. Mum said, I think he's dead. Obviously hysteric. I was only about 5 minutes away, so obviously I jumped in the car, flew straight over, walked in the kitchen, and he was on the kitchen floor. Blue.
Mate, I'm so sorry to hear that. And like the whole the mental health side of things, was it within, obviously worked for you guys in construction, so was there any elements of the construction industry that were making him feel that way?
Do you know what? I think I'd probably say he's probably a little bit too much too soon in terms of, I say success because that's the wrong word to use, but maybe things were too accessible for him. I don't know. I wouldn't say predominantly like exactly that stress of work would ever drive him to that, but I'd definitely say I'd definitely say maybe his position and what else he'd done I don't know what drove him to using and drinking like he did and whatever else. He had the mental health side was ridiculous. Like I say, I went to his apartment, he'd boarded up the windows, he'd spray painted the walls black. We hadn't left there for ages. I knew he had problems. Obviously text messages back and two and whatever else, but kind of day-to-day life catches up with you, doesn't it? And you kind of, sometimes you neglect the people that are close to you because you're so busy and you think, well, you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, so I'm not bothering with you. And I think that's what my side of it was, look, I've tried to help you, I can't do much with this, so I'm going to leave you to it. Not really realising what mess he was in. Do you know what I mean?
And did he, so he was working for you at the time as well?
He was, but he was in and out of work, obviously, because of the way he was and the state he was, yeah. And
then, so was he, able to perform at work when
No. So you'd be noticing him, we're talking 6-7 years ago, more likely here. You could see the downfall in what he was doing, his drinking and whatever else he was doing. It was having an ill effect on his work in terms of just turning up. When he did turn up, he wasn't interested. He'd sleep a lot. So yeah, performance and work was just non-existent.
And our industry as a whole, when there's so many situations where that kind of thing happens. Our industry as a whole is difficult to speak out about it and to tell people what's going on, because we're a male dominated, and there's females in our industry as well, but it's like a male dominated industry, construction, so it's difficult for people to speak out and say about the issues that they've got.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when obviously the day did pass, I was just running around the house waiting for obviously the relevant people to arrive and do what they do, and I found a book. It was a big notepad, and it had pages and pages of writing of how he felt and how he was struggling, and will I ever work again? Will Ben ever be proud of me again? So
takes as long as you need, Ben.
Yeah, so what you're saying there in terms of people speaking out, that book was him speaking out in his own way. He had a road to recovery plan, what he was planning on doing with himself to try and get him out of whatever mess he was in. So yeah, the autopsy showed he had opium-based painkillers in his system for whatever reason. And yeah, he's so.
I mean, but just by the sounds of it, you were obviously close to your brother because his work.
Yeah, I loved him to bits. I mean, we obviously had our quiet periods when he was doing what he was doing, and we didn't speak a lot. Text messages on my phone. I had a text message a week before he passed saying, "I'll be in Monday. Don't worry about it." Do you know what I mean? It was every week that went on for years. I'll be in Monday. I'll be in Monday. But I think, from my perspective is, I felt a lot of anger and guilt straight away. I was absolutely, you know what I mean? I was more, I jumped straight back into work and carried on because that's what I do. But I felt a lot of guilt because, was there more I could have done? Should have realised what he's done. And I think the point is that we can all help the next person. We all know that. But sometimes we let that go and just think to ourselves, well, we're doing what we're doing. They'll come around at some point, but they may not. And if we can do anything to help someone, that text message, that phone call, like, I wish I had now gone and seen him and said, look, we're going to the gym. Or look, we're going to football.
Yeah.
Look, we're doing this, we're doing that. And pulled him out of whatever he was doing or thinking. And whatever addiction he had, I could have, I can't help but think I could have fixed that. But
by the sounds of it, I don't know the ins and outs, but even you employing him and giving him work and you've obviously helped him out so much just through that.
Yeah, mate, he was a massive part of the business.
Yeah.
He was a massive reason why we are today, because of his skills and the way he was. As an estimated commercial manager, he was savvy to the whole game.
That's the most difficult part.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
The construction business as well.
So he knew what he was doing, and he was an integral part, and he knew he could always come back to that business. Well, I thought he knew he could always come back. But there was something stopping in his mind to think, his confidence, whatever else, he couldn't. I mean, like I say, the book I found with his writing in was, I can't stand to look at myself in the mirror. I can't stand the way I look. I don't want to die like my dad died because he had a heart attack or whatever else. There was loads and loads of notes, and ultimately I just thought to myself, could I have done more? Should I have done more? I can't help but feel that little bit inside me, that to think, if I was there more or paid more attention, could I have fixed that situation? But I don't know. I'm doing all right now, so we're good to go.
What was it like? If you don't mind me asking, what was it like going through the book? Obviously, it's a big book of notes.
Oh, it killed me. Yeah, it killed me. I took it in the car. I didn't read it straight away. I read a couple of pages when I was stood there because obviously, there was a situation, so I took it with me. Didn't let my mum see it at the time. She didn't even know it was there. And yeah, it was hard. That was so hard to read it and see his notes of, the road to recovery. So he knew he had a problem. I'm going to do this. 10 minutes on the treadmill in the garage or whatever, that sort of thing. And he knew what was wrong, but I'm going to say it was too far gone. I don't know. His addiction had caught hold of him and he couldn't get off it. Do you know what I mean?
And then, that was 6 months ago, roughly. June. So, how have you done in the last 6 months?
Good. I'm all right. It's you got to carrying on. I'm now on a kind of a self-development, self-awareness, you know, getting up at like 4:30 in the morning now.
That's tough.
Doing the usual, you know, thing, writing out my mantra, my gratitude, writing letters to God, which I don't know, but I'm going to give that a whirl for now.
Yeah, mate. Each their own, man. Like whatever works for different people.
So yeah, I'm on that path now of make sure. I've always had the mindset of whatever it is. Even, you know, this has happened and it's obviously it's killed me off, but yeah, the mindset's there. I'm right. The business is running well. That's all I'm concentrating on. There's nothing to rebuild because I kind of prepared myself that he wasn't part of the business anyway, so that was never really a massive issue to the business. Obviously myself and my mum, you know, trying to pick up, seeing my mum losing a child, that's extremely difficult for me.
That's hard. It must be really difficult.
Oh yeah. My mum works in accounts, so yeah, seeing her every day and making sure she's good to go. She's amazing. I couldn't.
And I suppose, I would imagine are you closer with your mum after?
Yeah. I've always been close with my mum, but kind of seeing my mum fight through this and fight, you know, she's seen the mental health side of it more than I did. She's seen him every day and tried to talk him round, and obviously I suppose there's an element of blame there from her. Like in her head, she's thinking, you know, could have done more and whatever else. But I think going back to the addiction side of it, I think especially within the workplace, I don't think people realise that, you know, when people are drinking heavy and they're out on the weekend, and you know, maybe the missus or the boyfriend's left them, or whatever you want to call it. You know, don't think people, especially as employers, we don't really see that and understand it, and that has a knock-on effects in work. And I think a lot of people who work for people don't step up and explain everything because they don't want the boss or the person in charge, whatever you want to call it, they don't want them to think any different of them, do they?
Yeah.
You know, if one of my lads came to me, I'd be open arms.
Yeah.
But if someone's saying, you going to your boss and saying, look, I drink too much, I'm struggling with this, and this, maybe they're thinking, is the boss going to turn around and say, I don't know if you're great for me then?
Yeah, you're a liability.
You're a liability, exactly. So I think that's what we need to really open up to in the construction industry especially, is, you know, you've got that scaffold, you've got that roofer who's, you know, he's obviously a solid guy, but he's in the pub every night.
Yeah.
His missus left him, he may have lost his kids, I don't know, whatever the situation may be. He needs to be able to come to the person who he's working for and say, look, I'm struggling, maybe I need this time off. I think that's a worry for people because they think, you know, I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, I imagine that's the main worry because, you know, like our industry as a whole, it's like I said earlier, it's predominantly male orientated. So, you know, like one of your roofers coming to you, I know you've probably got a way different approach to it, but just hypothetically saying, like, if one of the roofers came to you and said, you know, I'm really struggling with mental health, it's easy to not look weak as a leader, for instance, but I'll just get on with it.
Yeah.
Or you just get on with it, mate. You're all right, aren't you?
Yeah. If you'd asked me that question 12 months ago, I would have told the completely different answer. I would have probably gone, the guy's just trying to get out of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not massive on that mental health side of whatever it is, but it's true. It exists. Do I think a lot of it exists from addiction? Yeah, I do. I think a lot of mental health is off the back of some sort of addiction. I'm not saying there's not true mental health issues before addiction or anything like that. Obviously, it does exist, but the majority is from addiction. So we really need to look at the side of the addiction and address the addiction. And then I think the mental health thing will just become a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it'll ever be eradicated because it can't, but I'm saying a lot of normal people have a lot of problems that people don't understand and see, and a lot of it comes from the addiction of something, whatever your vice may be. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that needs to be addressed, because if we don't address that addiction, to come down on a Sunday morning when someone's been drinking from Friday to Sunday, the missus has left them for whatever reason, or vice versa, the boyfriend and girlfriend situation. We don't see that in work. We just expect them to get on, and we expect them to be fine in work. You know, it's on your mind all the time. Maybe your phone's beeping in your pocket for whatever reason because you've had a weekend of it. I don't know, but I think we need to address what people are really going through. Yeah, 100%.
So how would you approach that? Because it's really difficult. It's such a touchy subject, the mental health, and in majority of industries, not just ours, but even in the construction industry, it's such a touchy subject because, you know, it's prevalent in our industry that it's very difficult to speak out. So like, how would you go about, and you know, like, I feel like you're really well situated to give advice here, but what would you say to people who maybe might be struggling in our industry as such? And
firstly, from my point of view, I'd say living with this regret of losing my brother the way I did, and reading the book and knowing he was struggling and boarding up his windows from the day .1, living with this regret, it's very, very, when people lose a life from mental health, the knock-on effects it has on the family, the feeling that the family has, the feeling I have about my brother, is so important to make sure that people are understanding that people do need to listen. So from my point of view, I'd say if you are someone who's working on site and you are struggling, you need not to be worried about speaking up, even if it's a WhatsApp to someone who's in charge or you feel like you need to speak to. I think we need to be more open. Like, we have a WhatsApp group in our company, you know, it's completely confidential or whatever else. If anyone has any problems, you speak out on that.
Yeah.
Everyone sees it in terms of in the workplace. I'm not saying tell me your ins and outs of whatever it is, but you know, if you're worried about something at work or you're not happy with it, or the open message of the personal WhatsApps there as well. So personally WhatsApp me. Everyone's always open. So I think people who are employing people have the duty to ensure that they're being realistic and understanding of the people in the workplace.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the most difficult one for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously you look out for your guys now. By the sounds of it, you've got 100%. Your WhatsApp group and they can all approach you if.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't get massive amounts of messages per day saying I've got a problem, because they don't.
I think it's more the fact that you're open to receiving the messages is probably having a lot more of an effect than you might think, to be fair, because you know there's contractors out there and companies out there, firms out there, that probably aren't as open to receiving and aren't as approachable for that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it boils down to being down to earth as well and understanding the situations that do go on in life. You know, you could be a fly-high CEO, you could be making millions, you could be extremely successful, but you still need to understand what goes on in reality.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People struggle, people drink, people take drugs. You know, it's an ongoing issue that we all see and understand in terms of what we see on podcasts and people struggling. But do we really know how to handle it? I don't think anyone does at the minute.
No, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. You see it more and more, and you see the different, you know, trusts like Lighthouse and whatever else. Are we taking a realistic approach to being down to earth about it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody who suffered with mental health in the construction industry himself. He was more office based, and he's an MD of a company now. But he basically said that in our industry, or he suggested that in our industry, it's more of a box ticking exercise, the mental health side of things. So it's like,
that's what it's becoming, isn't it?
It's becoming a box ticking exercise. It's like a poster on a site that says like, and you know, like those posters, even though that they're good to have up, but like the substance behind it isn't there. There isn't actually somebody to reach out to behind the poster. It's more just, as a main contractor, by no means am I saying anything specifically, or any firm specifically, but it's more like we've got to put that poster on the fence, on the Harris fencing, and let's just tick the box, and if anyone comes they can see it. But like, we don't really, I don't want to say don't really care, because that's probably not
no, you're right. I mean lads are going to walk past that poster and not even go, oh, what's that? They're not even just another poster on the wall on a construction site. And like you say, it's a box tick. It's like they have to put it up to show that they're showing some sort of willingness to understand and show that they are, because if anything does happen, then they've gone, well, we've tried to integrate it.
Yeah, they're covered. It's almost like a covering.
We put the posters up, but are we truly really understanding of mental health? No. And will we ever be? I don't know.
You mentioned someone earlier as well, which mimicked sort of the approach that the guy had on a couple of weeks ago, where it's more trying to deal with the root cause of the mental health, like you said, the addiction side of things. Like, that's what's got to be dealt with. But otherwise, you know, those posters really are there when sometimes it's too late.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, from Lee's perspective, as he was a commercial manager, like I say. So he had his own apartment, he had a Bentley. He was doing what he was doing. He was flying, no issues, and then the addiction set in for whatever reason. Gradually seen him go from here to there, but the root cause was the addiction. There's no other reason than why you would.
Yeah.
There's no other reason. I know for a fact it was the addiction, because I know him well enough to know that, and I seen his demise in a way. But yeah, I think if we tackled that early on, and he'd realise what the problem was in himself, and someone maybe brought that out of him, then it may have saved his life. But I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, how do we do that? It's an ongoing discussion, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, I don't have I wouldn't know. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
So how about you, mate? Obviously, like there's been 6 months. It's been really, really tough, and I think you mentioned you've got a coach now that sort of.
Yeah, I have a mentor, amazing mentor called Tom Smith.
Yeah.
We have the Zooms every week, group Zooms and group chat, and he tries to implement the kind of law of attraction sort of side of it, where the universe is gonna and it, beforehand, before I met him, maybe I thought, maybe not.
Yeah.
But now I'm really reading into it and I'm understanding, positive thinking is massive.
Humongous.
Huge. Yeah, positive thinking. And so, I'm kind of on that journey now where I'm up in the morning and doing my writing.
Yeah.
I'm following the positive thoughts and whatever else. It isn't like when Lee passed, I suddenly went into some dark, deep depression, because I didn't. I'm not going to sit here and say, I went into a depressive state and I was struggling with anything, because it wasn't. I struggled with the loss of my brother, obviously. It was massive.
Yeah.
I did my crying. I still do my crying now, like you just seen. Sure. But it wasn't like I sat there and going, oh, that's it. I thought, right, well, I'm going to be positive about this. I've got to follow the right path. You know what I mean? I'm not a drinker anyway. I haven't drank for years. So that was never really a big issue to me anyway. So I'd say I'm on the right path anyway. I always have been and always will be.
Yeah, I mean, the fact you're coming on today and like sharing that is huge, and it's not been long as well. So, massive credit for coming on and sharing it. But let's chat a little bit more about the coach, because like I've just started to be coached as well by someone who actually come on the podcast, and he's trying to instill a bit of structure around it, and there is a bit of positivity around it as well.
Of course.
So like, how has it helped you, and has it helped you as a business owner as well?
100%. Yeah, he's massive in terms of business anyway. He's very successful in what he does. So mindset, business side of it's been huge for me. It's been absolutely huge. To be honest, I'll say it's probably life changing.
Yeah,
it really has been, especially with the mindset situation, because we can all believe we're being positive, but when you actually see someone at that level, who's operating at that level, who's worth what they're worth, and the proof's in the pudding, then you're like, wow, this is what they're doing here is scary. Do you know what I mean? Energy wise.
And like you said, I was about to say that, like the whole energy thing around it.
Yeah, it's massive.
So I've listened to an audio book called The Power of Positive Thinking. I can't remember what the author's called. I think it's Norman Vincent Peale is the author, and he suggests in the book as well that basically thoughts are boomerangs.
Yeah.
So like what however the energy you're putting out and the thought processes you're having, that they come back around.
Yeah, of course.
They gravitate towards your thoughts. So like if you are having positive thoughts, then that positivity will come back around to you.
When you start to think about this, common sense, isn't it? Like you don't actually sit there. I pay for his services and whatever else, and he's fantastic. But he's telling you, thinking, I already kind of know that.
Yeah.
Why have I never implemented that? Why have I never thought positive? Like, why am I letting these negative situations overcome the positive side of what's going on?
Yeah.
And
it is common sense. You're right. So,
it is common sense, yeah.
And it's funny because like how that book sort of suggests it at various points. I don't want to butcher it because it was a year or two ago I listened to it, but there's a few key takeaways I had from it. But what it was sort of suggesting was like if you're moving positively and you're thinking positively, then you're seeing the positive in everything else that's in the world.
Yeah,
so like the positivity is gravitating towards you and you're attracting it. But if you're moving negatively and seeing the negativity, then you're just going to absorb negativity around you.
Yeah, he's massive on like relationships as well as like networks, net worth. Trying to build relationships with people. And I've seen you post early on in terms of the working from home.
Workplace.
Yeah, I think that's massive, because how are we building relationships now? Why are we coming away from that face-to-face interaction? We can do it now.
Yeah,
we've had our COVID spell. We're out of that. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to how we were. Let's meet. Let's greet. Let's make relationships and build friendships as well as work relationships, because they're massively important. They're huge. I mean, how do you build a relationship with someone over a Zoom? I'm not saying that I haven't got the necessities in certain ways. They have, but I do believe that meeting you today, for instance, and whatever else, like building that relationship and meeting that person, it's essential,
without doubt. And the Zoom side of things, there probably is a place for it. There's a massive place for that. Remote workers that help out in certain situations, but there's no emotion behind a Zoom call. No. There's no emotion behind the conversation, so you're losing the emotion.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn your camera off, can't you? So like, you can't really, you might don't know who you speak to. I'm not saying it's massively important to know what they look like, but when you meet in person, you're like, you shake your hand, you sit down, you have that coffee, and you have that interaction, and you come away. I come away from face-to-face meetings feeling a lot more satisfied than I do on a Zoom. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
and also like nothing beats this. Sit chatting.
Yeah.
This is a unique type of conversation because it's a podcast, and so it's very unique. But nothing beats the face-to-face and building relationships and the network side of things. Yeah. So obviously your coach is really big on that.
Oh, man, he's massive. Yeah, he's huge on it. Like say he's he loves the meetings and greets, and he pushes you to be interacting with people and like I say, building your network. Like I say, he always says network's your net worth. It's, the more you build that, the more you're going to build your financial side of what you do. So yeah, he's been a game changer. I've had him for a few months now. fantastic guy personally. Always on the phone if you need him. He's Thomas Smith. I can't recommend him enough.
And like the whole coaching side of things, you nailed it earlier where you said we all really know what we should be doing.
Yeah, of course.
So like deep down we all know that, like if you're, I don't know, if you're out of shape, you should be going to the gym.
The PT, innit?
You know you should be eating well, you should be going to the gym.
Yeah.
And then, if the business is failing or not doing so well, really what you should be doing. But it's, for some reason we don't do it. It's really weird. So like this, the coach that I've got, and I'm sure it's the same with you. I mean, I've only been working with him for a short period of time, but I think for me it's more the accountability side of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I know I've got to show up in 2 weeks' time to speak to him, and he's going to ask me, have you done that? And I don't want to say no, I haven't.
That's what I mean. It's a sense of letting him down. Like when he asks me a question, I'm, oh God, I've got to be ready for that question. I don't want to let him down. So he's been a game changer, and I think I'd advise, if you can do it, get a mentor. You know what I mean? Try and follow someone who you believe is on the same path that you want to be on and achieving things that you want to achieve. And I do believe that anything we do try and do, we can do. I mean, he's really instilled that in me now. It's literally, whatever you want to do in life, you can do. And it's right. When we were kids and stuff, we used to want to be astronauts and football players. Where's it gone? Why have we lost that now? And we're going, we're just going to settle for just doing this. But when you're a kid, you're like, I want to be an astronaut. And you believed you could be. And now
it's weird, isn't it?
But that mindset changes. So when you're a child, you believe you can do anything, and then as you grow older and progress in your life, you start to think, I can't really do that. I'm not worthy of that. But we can. I'm not saying you're going to be an astronaut now, but I'm saying in terms of general being realistic, like, we can do anything we want to do. Why can't we?
And that's an amazing, mindset that he's obviously instilled into you. Not saying you didn't have it before, but like he's instilled that mindset into you, and it does change the way you look at things and the way you move day to day as well. Yeah,
like I say, I've got stepson 15 years old, and trying to integrate that into him now and saying, you need, like, not that you need to know what you want to do for the rest of your life, because it's extremely difficult, but trying to tell him, you can do whatever you want. Look, you got blank canvas. Go and use it. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many things you could be doing. Go and chase what you want to do. Do what you want to do. Like, I'm not saying it's too late. I'm 37 now. I'm not saying it's too late now for me to do anything I want to do, because I can. But like, the young lads now, like, and young girls, like, you can do whatever you want to do. Go and do it.
But it's almost like you get buyer's fatigue when you're that age, because there's so much to do. There's so many things that you can do that you're like, I don't know what to do, because there's so like, should I do that, and do I do this?
You're not really grateful for what you have at that age in terms of the availability of what you can do. I mean, if someone says to me now, you can do Spanish for free, I'd jump at the chance. I'd be straight in there. But when I did Spanish in school, I was sat there thinking, I can't do Spanish. This is poor. I can't be doing this. Yeah, crap. But now, like I say, I always say that to everyone. I say, like, take what you can now. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're young enough, like, make sure you make the most of what you can be, because you can be anything you want. You can earn whenever you like. You don't want to be stuck in a position where you're just cruising. Don't cruise. Do you know what I mean?
That's the worst situation to be in, is the comfortability.
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with, like you say, there's nothing wrong with having that if that's what you want. But you can do whatever you like. Do you know what I mean? Don't just settle for what you think you have to settle for. Do you know what I mean? Push. Go past that point.
So how are you've worked with your coach now for a couple of months, so like, where we are today situated here, like how are you doing, like, mentally and
fantastic. Mental state is absolutely on point. Like I say, I'm getting up in the morning, doing my writing, becoming more and more grateful for what I have, where I never did really in the past, in terms I was always grateful, but I never really put it down on paper and understood what I was grateful for. I'm grateful for my mum, my girlfriend, etc., like the basics in life. Do you know what I mean? So I'm starting to now learn that they're extremely important to be grateful for, as well as money's extremely important to me. It always will be. I'm financially motivated, definitely. But now I really am. Now Lee's gone, and he's died so sudden. I'm grateful for the basics. You know what I mean? And just being healthy and living life as well. That's massive.
But also, like, even having, the finances as a driver, it's not a bad thing, because, like, for me, like, finances might be a driver, but it's the experiences that you get from the finances. It's not the money, the physical money that I want. It's the experiences that can buy, and the memories. Yeah,
like I say, I think on my I'll share my goals with you and then whatever else. Like, one of my goals is to obviously make sure that my mum is financially secure, which she is. Like, we're extremely successful in what we do already. But my main aim is to make sure the people around me are cared for. My girlfriend, my mum. Just make sure that the people that actually hear and love you are cared for.
What's the goals with the business as well? Because obviously, you, by the sounds of it, mate, you've done so well to grow the company, and you know, you've had some horrendous situations that have happened, but you're still fighting on, you're still going, mate, you're still trying to grow the company. So what's the goals with the cladding company?
I say for the quick cladding solutions is to start pushing for the quick group, quick drainage, you know, quick spraying, quick whatever it may be. To use the brand to its ability that it can be. Quick cladding solutions at the minute. Obviously, I'm over in Ireland as well, doing the thing over there. So yeah, the ultimate aim for quick cladding solutions now is to take it as far as you can go and push on every single avenue. I want to be offering people cost-effective solutions. You know what I mean? I want to be honest with people. I want to be transparent as a business. I want people to know that, you know, there is companies out there that can offer a good service for a cost-effective rate.
Yeah.
So I think now, especially in roofing, people are going towards, you know, the high-end costs, and they don't really know what they're getting. So my aim is to be that family ethos still.
Yeah.
You know, I need to stand right by my dad, by my brother, and keep that family ethos in quick cladding solutions.
And does that are those guys a driver for you as well now?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. As they say, that always was anyway. And then when he passed, even more so, not to let him down. Brother passing, you know, let's do it. I'm ready.
What's you know, that's the goals for the company, but what about goals for yourself? Like where do you want to get to? And
beach.
Yeah.
100% the beach. I'll never stop working. Like I love working. It motivates me. I won't do anything else but work.
Yeah.
You know, I work 24/7 if the missus let me, but I can't. So
I think it's really good. Like sorry to interrupt, but the work side of things, it's you know, I know you get the reward financially off it, but it's you know, it's the fact you're building to something, you're building something. It gives you like a purpose and a drive.
Yeah, exactly. You always need that further goal. I don't think that goal will. You never reach your goal because you always want to go that fast. But
it's never ending.
Yeah, if you had $1 billion, you want $2 billion. Yeah. So you're never going to be. You're never going to be content with what you have. Well, I wouldn't be anyway personally. I know people out there will say you should be content with what you have, and I should be now, really, to be honest with you. But no, I'm not. Like, I want to push past. I want to go to that next level, and I believe that's what people should always obtain to be. Is, you know, keep pushing past what they're. Even if it's your own potential yourself. You know what I mean? So my goal in myself is to obviously build this as a company, become a better man, become a better person. Yeah. You know, we've all got room for improvement. So yeah, just keep improving in every single aspect of my life. And
then if there, you know, and I want to jump back into it because I feel like if there is someone listening that might make a change to them, but if there is somebody out there who might be struggling with mental health within our industry, like what would you advise them, or what would you say to them?
Be honest. Just be honest with yourself first off. If you are struggling, just be honest and admit that you're struggling. You know, if you feel like you're feeling a bit crappy some days, you know, we all do. But if you're feeling that bit of pain, and like I said before, if someone's left you, a loved one's left you, and they put you in a position where you're struggling in your mind, and you turn into maybe going, I'm just going to have a drink instead then, do you know what I mean? Then be honest with yourself and realise that you've got that problem. Lee realised he had the problem, but he just couldn't fix it. And then that's when it kind of boils down to people around you. Maybe then, if you've got a loved one around you, just try and talk to him, do you know what I mean? Try and speak to someone who's close to you, who understands you more than anyone. Go to anyone you can, but turn to the person who's going to listen most and understand you most and be there for you most. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we can all, you could ring a helpline all you want, really, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it won't help, but try and speak to people that you know who's going to be on your side and know who's going to have your back. Do you know what I mean? And I feel that's where I may have let Lee down a little bit. Is not that I didn't listen, not that I didn't message back, not that I didn't love him to bits and he couldn't see it, but I can't help feel that there's more that I could have done if I'd understood it more. Do you know what I mean? So just be honest with yourself and just be honest with the situation if you're stuck in one. Do you know what I mean?
And reach out as well.
Yeah, reach out and just speak about it. And, I mean, even if it's just think, I'm feeling shit, I'm on a Saturday night, I'm on my own here. Like, speak to the next person. Do you know what I mean? Ring your mate. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be. You don't have to go out and drink yourself silly. Just speak to someone and get it off your chest a little bit. We all feel better when we've had a talk. Yeah. No matter who it's with. So yeah, just be honest with yourself and admit that you do need help. And I think that's the first step. And then I think people need to have more awareness of people who do need the help. Do you know what I mean? And not just be so entwined in what they're doing day to day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
and also, like, you know, a lot of people might look down on the people who if they have an addiction or if they need help, they might look down on them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think, you know, it's the age-old thing, isn't it, where someone's down in the dumps and they're struggling with addiction, and you know, people kind of do go, oh, he's a drunk. or he's whatever he is or whatever else, like, we need to come away from like the persona of it all and just go, he's obviously struggling, like he's addicted because he's struggling, like, you know what I mean? No one wants to be addicted to something to that level where it's affecting the loved ones around them in their day-to-day life. So surely people need to understand that and reach out and say, you know, don't just label him as someone who has a pain in the arse. His liability. He might be a pain in the arse. You know what I mean? I'm not saying my brother never was a pain in the arse when he was doing what he was doing, but I still loved him. I still care for him. I never wanted to lose him like I have now. So if we can reach out and just, you know, stop labeling people maybe a little bit, that'll be my advice.
Mate, thank you so much for sharing your story, and thanks for going into detail. You know, I actually really hope that someone whoever listens to this, if they do listen to it and it actually helps them, I really hope it does.
Fantastic.
So mate, thank you so much for sharing your story and everything around it, and I genuinely wish you all the best, and I have no doubt you'll achieve whatever you want to achieve. Just you know, spending an hour with you now, I've got no doubt you're going to achieve whatever you need to achieve.
Definitely, 100%.
So thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Thank you for having me, mate. Appreciate it.